Good morning, everybody. Everybody can. So before we start today, I have something to discuss with all of you. You may or may not know on Saturday last we had a yard sale at the VFW to benefit the children of Parker School. And I think they did pretty good, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. They asked me to call Miss Gibson because she was working with them to get a cross guard electric yellow flashing signs at the school, and they wanted some specific answers before the school reopened. So I called her, and she couldn't answer. I found out later because she was driving to Missouri. So about 8 o'clock on Saturday night, she called me back and told me that that she was working on this crossing sign thing for the school, flashing lights, and it really wasn't anything to do with Parker. And I'm leading you up to what I'm going to about tell you with this story that she told me, because the road needed to be paved and painted, and the road belonged to the state of Florida, so it wasn't our responsibility. But she went on to say that she had had a conversation with Mrs. Rega, Kimberly Rega. I don't know when that happened, but I got the impression it was immediately after we had our meeting last week, and or shortly thereafter. Reference the city clerk's position. She said that Ms. Rega informed her that she didn't realize that this was going to go on for another month, that if she was going to be selected, or hopefully selected, good morning, Chief, that she would not be able to accept the position because she has to give her place of employment sufficient time to tell them she's not returning back to school, because the slot she keeps or has, and I want to say now this is third hand that I got this from April, that they had to have her position identified by August or July the 17th, maybe, I don't know. She had 2 weeks that she had to tell them if she was staying or going. So she wanted me to pass along to you today that she was unaware that since the job was posted for 5 weeks, why we were unable to have a conclusion out of 27 applicants, because extending it for her, if she was the applicant in a month, she still could not accept the position, because she would have already gone back to school for the year and be working at, I guess, Bay County Schools. Is that where she works? Bay County Schools. So I've done as Miss Gibson asked me to do, because she said she won't be back until Saturday. Thank you. So we can proceed on.
So, in other words, if we don't make a decision about her,
Her cards are off the table. Because you remember I asked the other day, would she be considered, and you guys said she still would be considered, but it would depend whoever else we got. Have we had any other apps?
Yes, I did have one Friday.
One. I don't know if you saw or not. I didn't read it personally, but I took a pretty good beating over the weekend because we didn't hire anybody from our village. So I didn't know this was a village, but apparently some people in Parker feel like that we should only reach out to folks who live in our village, and they gave me a pretty good beating for not hiring anybody from the village. I wish they'd stop, because I really don't care if they do it or don't do it. But anyway, guys, that's where we're at.
The application that we received on Friday was a good one, wasn't it?
Yes, very good. Yeah, she said she had applied for the clerk position in 19, and I don't know if she wasn't chosen or if she.
2019?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the year, if I'm not mistaken, that Danielle took military preference, veterans preference.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, that was the worst decision the city ever made, by far.
This lady looks very good on paper.
did she?
She actually had emailed, and then she came by about 4 o'clock on
She lives in Parker?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But she actually came by and dropped off a packet. So
She lives in Bay County.
she does live in Bay County, and she may live in Parker. I just can't remember.
Okay.
My feelings are, I feel like if we don't do something now about Ms. Riga, we're passing up on a good thing for Parker. I hate that we have to be put to the test with having to hurry up and vote for somebody, but that's the way I feel. I feel like if we don't go ahead and vote for her, put her in there, we're passing up on a good person for Parker.
Okay.
Well, this is a special meeting, right?
Special meeting workshop, so I'm not sure we can vote.
Well, if it says special meeting, we can vote, we do it all the time. So I make a motion that we go ahead and, ask Ms. Riga if she wants the position now. Offer it to her.
You're making a motion that we should offer it to?
Mhm.
Okay, we have a motion. Really?
Can we have discussion?
Absolutely.
Anybody can give a notice at any time to any place of employment. So that may be the way that she would like to handle that situation, but it's not a requirement that she handle that in that way.
The
So-
way April explained it to me, Ms. Galbraith, was that the position, it takes a help me out here, Julie, because I don't know, but whatever it is she does isn't a regular school teacher. They have to get a specific person for that position.
I would probably agree with that statement. However, it's still her preference whether or not she give her resignation now or she give her resignation in a month from now.
I think it's because in the school system that employees have to go back by a certain time. And if they don't have that position filled or whatever, it would go into the school year and then affect that. Would be the reason why she'd want to have it done, so they could get the person in before the school year
But it's still
started.
a preference thing. It's not
Yes,
a mandate.
it is, but
So I still think that we need to hold off and try to find somebody that hopefully has some qualifications that we are after for this position. And it sounds like the lady that applied on Friday, had all the qualifications, did she not?
She did.
She's been a city clerk before?
I don't think she's been a city clerk.
She's worked in municipalities?
Can you tell me how long she worked at her last job before she resigned?
Can I grab her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just we're gonna have some discussion, because we've already got a motion in a second. We will have some good discussion here. I'm sorry we're slow,
That
Hey,
doesn't,
I'm a
you
no
know?
rush.
I'm sorry we're slow, but we wanna make sure we're right.
and I suppose that doesn't negate the fact that she will still pull her resume. But
I wish April was here, because I hate being the person that gives it to you secondhand. She's telling me over the phone, driving down the road, so I'm trying to get it as accurate as I possibly can. We went from crossing guards to city clerks. Yeah, not crossing guards, but crossings.
This is her resume.
You got a copy for everybody?
It's front and back,
Okay.
and I will get a copy. There's another one here. Here's an application. And I'll get I'm gonna make a copy of the resume for everybody. I'll be right back.
lives at the beach. I
It doesn't look like from this that she does have, city clerk experience.
No. I tell you what is interesting, that top bar there on the first page. She spent a year in Texas before she got hired by the DOD as a secretary. Yeah, okay. She's not been a clerk.
No, I thought, Donna told me she had.
Yeah, so. Any more discussion? Just wait for the clerk to come back, I guess. Sorry to hold you ladies up, but I wanted to get it fresh while April's probably watching right now. I wanted to make sure I did exactly what she told me to do. Doesn't matter, there's no clerk experience.
Oh, there's
No.
So you don't wanna see.
Secretary from 2001, 2002. But it's still good to read. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor to, I guess, hire Rega, and it's been seconded. So Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Barrow?
Yes.
Barrow? Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Really?
Mayor Kelly?
Oh, yeah, yes. Thank you. Okay, ladies, you got the floor, I guess.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have presented to you, there's two budgets. Just really quick, I want to go over the summary of changes that are reflected in both sets of the budgets.
Can I ask a question before you
Yes,
do that?
ma'am.
I see on here that you, on this other one, you got one with 3%, 8%, 8.7% COLA. But on the other one, you got zero water and zero revenue and zero, I thought you were just gonna take off the wages and still, why would we not put the increase on the water and revenue that we have to put in there?
Because there was discussion if we were going to implement an ad valorem, maybe we would not.
Right,
Since
the
there was
plan,
a
the
high
plan is, and
rate
council, we need to have a
increase.
conversation about that. If we're gonna have ad valorem, is it really fair that we put water tax as well?
Well, are we gonna take the money out of that and pay for the up that we have to pay on the sewer to the county and the water?
We would pay it out of ad valorem, would we not? That's what you're supposed to do, I think. I'm pretty sure.
I think the intent is to pay the bills for the utility out of utility, so, I would be inclined to say that we should lower, because we just raised so much, I would say that we don't do another increase, but fix it in our ad valorem so that we're not pulling money from one pot to the other.
Correct. And did the county not just tell us they were gonna, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's what's the amount the county's going up this time?
Water is 3%, sewer
And
is 8%.
sewer?
8.
It's on the top
Eight.
of that one.
So you have one budget that's
Now look
reflected
close
with
there.
us
It says
increasing our
8%,
revenues that
3%.
amount and one
Right.
not.
We have no control over that, correct?
Yes,
Right.
and the cost of the increase is in both budgets, but the revenue side is in one and not the other. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Don't get me wrong, I don't wanna increase it either, but if we got to pay more for it, then we gotta do, we have to do something.
It just seems to me that if we're gonna have an ad valorem tax, we need an ad valorem tax. It's kinda harsh to hit the people of Parker with an ad valorem tax and a water increase. And I base that on my personal experience in that My homeowner's insurance went up $1,000 this year. Minimum use for water is $62.50. It just some people in our city just can't afford to do what they have to do. So it seems harsh to me to ask them for ad valorem and then ask them for.
Well, I think, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have to balance the budget. So we're going
Well,
to
whatever we gotta do, we're
we're
gonna have
either
to do
going
it.
to get it from ad valorem or we're going to get it from utility tax.
Or we cut spending.
So if we pull it and get the revenue through utility, then we are stuck not moving that money into the general fund.
Correct.
So for that reason alone,
It should be
I
ad
think that
valorem.
we should do it
Because
through
you
the
can
ad
spend it
valorem.
how you want to spend it.
Well, that's where we're short money,
Yeah,
is through the general fund.
and we always are.
So Julie just brought to my attention, she's telling us that, I guess we're trying to live stream today
Mhm.
and nobody can hear. I don't know if our mics are
I
turned
don't
Hello,
off. at
hello,
the-
hello.
I
I'm-
just texted and to see.
I'm not sure how to even turn the mics up.
We didn't live stream because of the it was employee interviews last week.
Yeah, so maybe it's muted somewhere. I've never
Don't
turned
know
it on.
enough about it.
On, right?
Mine is.
Mine doesn't have a green light, but
Tap
That
it.
definitely is.
It should go.
Tap your.
Yep, you
Yeah.
got.
Maybe speak clearer into the mics. I don't know.
It should be picking it up. Not a problem.
A couple of people have already called the front to complain.
Okay. Well, it's broke. I don't know what to do. Let's proceed on.
Okay.
Just a quick summary of the changes from the original preparation of the first draft. When it was sent out to our last meeting, we had received updates for our FRS percentages.
Correct.
Those have been reflected in these two budgets. We had been notified that the health insurance to expect an increase of approximately 12%. That has been updated in this budget. We had received our property values that had significantly increased. I have estimated the increase of insurance based on the new property values.
Yes.
And then we had also been notified from the county that the sewage rate was going up by 8% and the water was going by 3%.
Correct.
Those have been updated in this budget as well.
Can I hold you for 1 second?
Yes, sir.
The property values, does that reflect the new insurance rate? Because we were woefully underinsured, and that needed to be rectified. And my understanding was they were going to fix that last or this year. Has that been done?
We haven't gotten the actual increases from Carter yet.
Right.
But we were told it would double,
Really?
just about.
He said it would be
right?
doubled.
Because the property values
Okay.
had gone up so significantly.
So was that the number you used?
So I took the property values
Yeah.
that we had
Doubled
and
it.
then increased it. Yes, sir.
So what did they say the assets of the city is worth, do you think?
I will have to go back and
It's not that it's important right this minute, but I'd just like to know.
so are those the only changes that you made?
I
'Cause I thought I saw a couple of other changes.
I
too.
dropped in the
at the-
correct. Those were the huge significant changes.
So the other changes are just smaller. Okay.
Yes, there was a update for the oh goodness. The state contract lighting, that was just a little bit different. We had gotten the current year in June, so I updated that for approximately next year.
Yes, ma'am.
The police had pulled funds from their other improvements to communications. It was $4,900. But I think that was,
Okay.
Okay,
Th-
good.
th- those
Major
are the two
changes.
things that I noticed. Okay,
yes,
thank you.
yes. Okay, so I prepared these with, I guess, best and worst case scenario, and we can meet in the middle. I guess we'll start with the budget that has the 3% increase in water revenue, 8% increase in sewer revenue, and an 8.7% COLA increase across the board. This resulted in additional, from our first go around, additional wage cost of approximately $75,000, implementing the 8.7% COLA.
Did we find out that I don't think that's the COLA bid here, is it?
Yeah, it was 8 something.
So 2023 was really, really high. I think 22 was like
Going-
2 point something, and then They expect 24 to drop down to 2.7, but 23 was just incredibly high.
Because of the inflation rate.
So with those changes, that brought general government to a deficit of 1,122,435. If we were to implement ad valorem to cover that, based on the taxable values that were provided by Mr. Sowell
It's gonna
in,
be more than 3.8,
May.
isn't it?
it's 4%.
Yep.
It's 4.09%.
Yep.
Um,
That's just to break even.
For general government, yes,
Yep.
sir. If we flip on over to utility, utility would have a surplus of 1.1 million. Netting everything together, overall city would have this, and remember, these are prepared with 0 ad valorem taxes.
Right.
The city would have a deficit of 24,316.
About the same as last year.
And I did include the $50,000 that was
Savings.
preferred to go to savings, so that would be an overall deficit of 74,316.
Without ad valorem tax.
Correct.
So your recommendation would be 4%?
I don't feel like I have a recommendation at this point because I don't know what the council feels about the COLA percentage.
Okay.
On the second budget, this is prepared with 0% of a water increase, 0% sewer, and no wage increases. Flipping over, general government in this situation.
The wage increase was based on a COLA?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This budget with 0 increases is a deficit in general government of 1,017,000.
Okay.
Utility would have a surplus of 961,519. Overall, the city would have a deficit of 58,704. Adding in the 50,000 to transfer to savings, it would be a deficit of 108.
Okay. When do you think you could give the council a recommendation of your percentage of ad valorem you think we should?
As soon as we decide whether or not we want to increase water and sewer
Okay.
revenue and decide on the wage increase.
Okay. I think the water and sewer is a foregone conclusion, don't you think? We
I
read-
personally do not think we should increase water and sewer.
I do not either.
Okay.
There's a straw ballot for you, so that's not gonna happen.
Okay,
Ms. Barrows, what do you think? Leave it for ad valorem or take it for the water and
Just
sewer?
saying that I don't agree with the water increase, but I'm not gonna say nothing about an ad valorem.
Okay. Let's say we didn't have a water increase and we didn't have an ad valorem. Are we gonna have a shortfall?
yes.
Okay. Well, then it's a foregone conclusion that that's what we gotta do.
Suzanne, your spreadsheet, just you can drop numbers in and okay.
Yes.
So what if we take out the increase for water and sewer,
Okay,
add in a COLA increase of 2.5%,
okay.
which is somewhere in the middle, an average of 22 and 24. Where does that put us?
You said how much, 2.5?
Yes, ma'am.
That puts general government at a deficit of 1,048,000. Utility is in the surplus of 951. That is an overall deficit of 149,401, including the $50,000 going
Thank you.
into savings. Without that, it's 99,000.
So, 150,000 short.
At, let's see, if we were to do, I just want to calculate ad valorem if I dumped in.
Would it still be 4% or would it be back to 3.8?
That's what I'm gonna, 148. be 3.8%.
which is the number that we have continued to put out there.
Yes.
Can you, this is a little bit off subject of this actual budget, but what amount of money do we have sitting in savings is not allocated for something else?
Ooh, I would have to come back to you for that. You get into BSNA.
Which one?
Go to the trial balance, general ledger, reports, the top general ledger reports.
And let me ask another question, Suzanne, while she's looking that up. When you put in the new number for insurance, did you say you increased it by double?
Yes.
Okay.
The property, insurance last year was 48,000 and I increased it to 99,000.
Is that just liability insurance?
That was just property insurance.
Property insurance.
Mhm.
For the
I
buildings
didn't do any increases
that we have
for
insured.
general liability or auto or any of that. I mainly focused on property because those were the values that we had been.
Okay, so there'll probably be an increase coming in those as well that we have not
I
accounted
think
for.
so too. I just did not. What is that?
Is that right? CD savings fund, that's it.
I guess so.
So many clicks.
And this may be a question that you can't answer off the top of your head. Last meeting, we were given the raises by employee that were requested from all departments. Is that an easily fixed spreadsheet that we can drop that 2.5 into and see if this gives them what they're after or how close it gets them?
That wasn't all the departments. It didn't include fire, didn't include police. It only included public works and admin.
I think it included,
It was
Nothing for fire,
because
nothing for the
The department heads for those didn't ask for an increase. That's why it didn't include fire or police.
the police department didn't ask for an increase in wages last time?
Not on the first
We were
one.
trying to get it to where we, yeah.
I have what the COLA increase would be and what the
2.2 is not enough of a COLA. This costs too much to live.
and what the original request was, and then what the request was after their department head meeting. So I have that all, but it's not in a wonderful, I'm gonna print it out and give it to
Okay,
you.
okay.
But I do have, like, when I just adjusted the COLA percentage, it gives me their rate, so, and then I have over to the side what their original increases were.
So you could give us that in the next day or two?
Yes, I could print it out right now, if you wanted to see it.
In CD savings, we have $3,375,015.31 as of June 30th.
Can you say that number one more time?
$3,375,015.31.
One thing that I do want to point out too, the SRF loan, the new loan that we just
Yes.
received, is technically due to be repaid September 15th of 2024. It's $2 million. We have the money set aside in the bank account, but the project has not started. So I did not include it in here because I feel like it's going to be extended and it's not gonna be due at that point, but I just wanna make you guys all aware that
We have it held,
currently-
we have it held in a separate account, yeah.
Yes, sir.
That is not included in that 3.3
No,
million
we have a little over $2 million set aside
for just
to
that
meet the
SRF.
criteria for the SRF loan.
Yeah.
But
How much of that 3.8 is infrastructure?
Not out of, the CD savings doesn't include infrastructure, but the 2 million does. The 2 million set aside has a little over $1 million that go back to infrastructure. We took a little over $1 million from infrastructure and then from pooled cash to put in for that SRF loan requirement for it to be until it was paid back.
Okay, but let me be clear about that question. Because we have already received funds from the infrastructure tax money that should be set aside for what has already been allocated and not spent. So is that included in that SRF number?
That I don't know.
Because if it is, then that number is probably not accurate. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. know offhand, but I do know that when you guys voted to do for the that's where you told us to take it. Half from infrastructure allocated money and then half
Right,
from
that's-
pooled
but
cash.
What I'm trying to say though is there's more than $1 million in infrastructure money. So $1 million
Yes.
of it went as savings, where's the other sitting in?
Oh, pooled cash, which has not been, yeah.
Can we move that money out to its own
Yeah, okay,
account?
so I need to see all those numbers, so, I'd like to see what money we have set aside for the SRF just for the loan and just the required payback. What money is sitting here unspent but allocated, right, for infrastructure?
Mm-hmm.
Then what money we have sitting in a CD that is not allocated to anything at all. I know that you probably cannot give us those numbers
Yeah.
right away, but
Would y'all be interested in what two of the other neighbor cities are doing for the raises?
I would.
So two of the neighbor cities, one is doing a 5% COLA across the board with merit raises for performance. And another city has done a pay assessment on their city and they're doing a 5% pay rate increase with an undecided COLA at this time.
Jesus.
The other two cities, I haven't got their response yet. This just happened at the managers meeting, so they haven't really all come forth with what they're doing, but two of them have confirmed what they're doing.
okay, so a big part of when we give somebody raises comes everything that goes along with it. Has anybody looked at our health insurance plan to see if this is the most?
I met with them Thursday, and what they said when they get them in, they did say about a 12%. There's been a few that I think are a little bit over 12, but he said the average is 9 to 12%. When he gets those in, he will come back and sit down, and if it's more than that, we will look at other plans. But he's, that's what
Well, maybe
he
we
had
should look
said.
at other plans to begin with. My guess is the employees would probably rather have money in their pocket at this point than an expensive plan. So maybe we should look at purchasing a plan that's not, I mean, I don't know any details about the plan, so I may be speaking out of turn here, but maybe we need to look at spending a little less money on the insurance.
Well, when are they gonna do when they gotta pay a deductible and all that other stuff?
I can't hear you.
What are they gonna do when they gotta pay a deductible? You know, I mean,
I don't know what
it's
the
gotta come out of their
deductible
pocket,
It's a
separate.
1,000, I believe. What it is we have two different plans. We have one plan that is a more expensive plan, and it's our employees that don't have dependents. And then we have a less expensive plan for the employees who have dependents. So, like, I have that one. I'm not,
I have the single.
she has the single, and I have
Is it-
the other one. Do you know your specifics on yours, kind of?
It's a $500 deductible.
Right, and then
That's-
you,
Wow.
and mine's $1,000 deductible.
That's why our insurance is high. I
Right.
think that we need to look at that, you guys. I understand that that could be a little costly for a
Look
deductible,
and
but
see what the difference payment is.
500 is a bargain.
yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
It
So,
is.
500 is a bargain.
the one that I do, I don't know what our takeout is for what the differences are. I
Now
can
I'm
look
worried
that up.
Now I'm worried I was wrong. I'd have to look at my card. I thought it was 500.
Well, I'll have to look up and see what the differences are of what we
The-
pay.
The
Well, at the
details
end
are
of the
on my
day, we're
desk.
looking at $1 million deficit. We have to
She
figure out
put
how
it-
we're going to pay
Jamie
for this,
put it
so.
in that little.
I think that we
filing
should
thing
definitely
on
look
the
at the health
left
insurance and see
corner.
if we can lower the rates there.
Do we-
Suzanne, will you forward us, when you have a minute, the total cost of health insurance? I know that it's in here, but we have to add a bunch of numbers together.
So the overall, yes, I can give it to you right now.
As it stands right now, as close as the numbers could be, an employee earning 20,000 a year in benefits is actually 40,000 a year. It's pretty close, right? With retirement and insurance.
Yes. So
So
like
you
I'm
gotta
looking
figure
for
it that way.
example.
When you hire somebody for 30,000, you're actually paying them 60,000.
Well, for example, I'm looking at someone currently who is at 27,000. Their overall package is 41.
There you go. 2/3.
Okay.
Total with the 12% increase, our overall insurance cost is $376,575.
376. And
Okay.
when you go to the doctor, do they give a deductible for your medication and stuff like that? How much is your deductible? Let's say you go buy medicine.
Well, it
Do
just depends on what
It
you.
depends on it. So I
I mean,
have
like my office copay is $10.
How many employees do we have?
It's single?
about
I have
31.
a single.
We go 31, 33, kind of back and forth. So the two plans we have, the employee, we pay for a single $757.27 a month, and for the one that I have, you pay $489.87 for mine. And then I pay any additional costs. The
But the
difference
employee
is
chooses that, right?
Right.
The employee picks the plan they want.
they do. So if they're single, they automatically get the $787. That's what they normally choose. If they, because of the additional cost, if you have dependents, like normally everyone, as far as I know, every single one that has dependents chose the $489.87 a month that you guys pay, and then we pay anything additional.
Right.
And the difference is it's a 500 deductible. Oh, I was wrong. It's 1,500 for mine. So 500 or 15.
Yeah, the deductible's where we're getting beaten.
Let's see.
That's where the
The
premiums
difference is
increase.
the office visits, $10 for that one, $20.
It's Barnes, right?
It is. And so, I mean,
You
there's
don't have
just a
to-
few differences, but it's
That's
quite a bit a
expensive,
month.
I
So
think
if
that
we
need
went to
look at
one
this.
policy,
So with Barnes, if you have surgery, you only pay $500.
well, you probably, it's,
Stacy,
So-
I've budgeted for 37 FTEs. There's 37 positions.
Okay.
It looks like max out of pocket for that one is 2,000, and max out of pocket for the one with dependents, 5,000. And then there's a little bit of difference between like urgent care, Quest, emergency room, those kind of things. The prescription drug is the same.
That's enough for me, you don't have to get into all the detail, but I
Okay.
think that we need to look at the plan itself and see if we can save some money there. $376,000 is a big chunk of money out of our budget. So I don't know how quick you guys can get that, because we have to have all of this done pretty quickly.
He hasn't got the new plans, like this is the
Could we have
plan
it
that
by
we're
Friday
in for.
morning at 9 o'clock?
It's not mine. He hasn't gotten from
Okay.
Blue Cross Blue Shield yet. So this is
Okay.
actually last year's policy that
Okay.
expires October 1st. I don't know when those come in, but he did say when he has them, he will bring those in. We can look at them if we go over.
Could
I would
we-
think he would be able to go ahead
Why
and,
don't you just call him up and find out if we need it for our budget?
yeah, tell him we have to have it for our budget, and ask him if he can give you some other options that are less expensive, so that we can have that as a part of our next.
If I can do that, he just doesn't have, I asked him Thursday, he hasn't been given anything from Blue Cross except for the 9 to 12% is what
I would
he had
hope though
said.
he would be able to take our demographics right now, and if we were to change policies, give us a rate on something
He
that
should
would
be
be
able to
cheaper.
quote a new policy, which is basically what we're asking him to do at this point.
Otherwise, we could work backwards and whatever we would feel comfortable with in
Tell him this is the amount
total
we want you to spend.
insurance,
And-
then we work backwards of what policies fit within that realm.
If we went to just the one policy across the board that we have right now for the one with dependents, it's about $250 cheaper a month per employee that have, but I don't know how many employees have the
The
higher.
premium's less if you have a dependent policy than if you have a single policy? That can't be
No,
right.
okay,
No, she's
what you
saying that
pay.
if
What the
everyone-
Oh,
city
the
pays.
employees deduct a portion of it.
Okay, so for me, what you pay, what the city
City
pays
pays
for
for
me
you.
is $489.87.
And you pay the difference.
Then I pay to add on to that. The ones who don't have,
That have
you
the
guys
regular
pay
single.
$757 a month. So it's quite a bit. If you just went to one policy, that would lower it. But I will call
think we
him.
need to see all of these numbers, and this needs to be a discussion with, what does it look like if we only offer one? What does it look like if we have a
She's
different
right.
option?
And if we could come up with that solution, do you think we're losing the employees if we lost insurance? Can they cut the insurance?
It's not cut. I mean, I have great
Not cutting
insurance.
insurance,
It's
we do.
not a big, now somebody who probably has a lot of doctors, it probably could add up quickly, but mine,
You
I've
don't
been
even
very
get
happy
close,
with
right?
mine.
Right. Okay. All right. What else?
Are there any other questions?
Is everybody happy, council, with all the numbers the way they are, with the exception of the salaries and insurance?
Well, I still have questions on, a couple of things. Well, we talked last time about doing a contract review. Are we still going to do that? We never really solidified whether or not we wanted to, for CPA, engineering, legal.
Well, we'd have to vote on it, right? We'd have to agree to do it? Go out for
Yes.
RFP?
Would,
If we're gonna go out for RFP for the engineer?
Well,
No, the auditor?
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so I don't see a reason why we should be doing that. We've got our engineer, we've had for a long time, and our, auditor forever. And all the other one's the attorney that some people seem not to be happy with, but I don't see a problem with any of it myself.
okay, I don't have a problem with their services, but we have $1 million deficit. We have to figure out how we're going to pay for it. And everybody keeps saying we don't wanna raise taxes, we don't wanna have higher water bills. You've indicated you don't wanna have an ad valorem. I don't know how we pay for this if we
We-
don't do
Ms. Galbraith,
something.
we have no choice.
Well,
We have to have an ad valorem. You
I-
can't say that.
well, sir, I've been saying that since I stepped foot into office, but
We're gonna
we
go
have
broke
to
if we
look-
don't do it.
we have to look at some of these numbers that I think we're spending a lot on. I mean, the attorney, we're spending double what some of the other municipalities are
Well,
paying.
stop calling him so much. Hey,
Excuse me?
stop calling him so much. I mean, this adds up every time somebody calls him about something or sends a paper over there. Oh, I mean, he's gonna charge the city for it. That's just his job.
What do you think, Mr. Chapel?
Well, we do need to go and, do something to get the price down. If we're gonna go ahead and give the, wage increase too, that's just gonna put it up higher. I would vote against, raising the water and the sewer. People are fed up with that anyway.
But we keep talking about the money we're not going to collect, but how are we going to pay the money that we're already in a deficit on? I had other questions about, I was not in favor of spending another $60,000 on a vehicle for the police department. And I had a question about what was originally $19,000 in building improvements, which has now been changed to 14.
The police car's off the table.
That's still in the
Correct.
budget.
Is it off the table or on the table? On the table.
I thought it was off the table.
Yeah, I did too.
It wasn't, was it?
I did get an answer, that the council requested.
This is interesting.
Panama City Police Department. So, the last time they had a grant for patrol cars, was 2011. And the city actually did get one then.
Yes.
But, Panama City has not received any patrol cars on a grant. They've been purchasing them, through their regular budget. Instead of purchasing them like we do, where we buy the car outright and we wait, a year and a half or so, just like he was waiting. He needed his cars faster, so they do a lease. So they purchase their patrol cars on a lease option. So they lease them for 5 years, and then on the last year, they actually pay the last payment, and then they own the vehicles outright. So that is how Panama City Police Department has been purchasing their vehicles.
Okay. I'm not sure that is any cheaper of an option, but the
Yeah.
60,000 is still
Yes.
included in the budget.
Yeah,
It is.
sorry, I didn't have that in my notes to take that out.
No, it was put in there, the last one.
Could we live another year without another car, chief? Without having to hot seat those cars and trade them out?
The answer to that is, at present, with our staffing, yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
If we go back to full staffing, then at some point, as we get close to the end of the year,
We're gonna run out of cars.
I'm gonna be looking at having to purchase a vehicle at least next year.
Okay.
But I can run with what we have, don't have as many vehicles to hop around because many of them went to auction because they were so high mileage, and different motors and things like that. But, you know, I'm currently down one position. My lieutenant retired, in case y'all didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
But 60,000 is about all you've got to cut, really. That's it.
well, I I can cut a little bit more. I think I was looking at moving $4,900 out of the improvements other than that. The reason behind that is currently we're spending $117.46 on a Verizon bill for 2 air cards. That is how we communicate in our computers to check people for wants and warrants and do our crash reports and write our citations. That technology is obsolete. I'm not able to purchase new air cards to continue to what we call hot rack by sticking them into computers and accessing the internet that way securely. The new technology that the wireless companies are using is called a MiFi. So it's a little box. 5 devices can attach to that at any given time. The concern is with the FBI and FDLE that the encryption may not be enough, so they are now moving us into each computer having its own hardware installed that we pay a $40 payment for each month. So with 10 computers, multiply that by
It's 4,800 a year.
$40 by 12 months, I'm looking at about $4,800.
So I'm assuming that's the 4,900 she moved, but what about the
Yes.
other 14? There's nothing explained as to what that's gonna be spent on.
So when I spoke with Julie and Suzanne, one of the other issues that we've been looking at, or I have, is printers. Currently we use DeskJet ink printers. Sometimes I can buy a new printer for the cost of the ink that goes into it.
That's
And
crazy.
as they get bounced around in the car, that's what I usually do. They do have more robust printers that are designed for patrol cars. They are a little more expensive, and I'm looking at trying to price those. The other concern is they have 2 different technologies. One is thermal, where it uses a certain type of paper. That printer is a little bit smaller, and the concern is if you put the paper on the dashboard, the sun can black out the entire piece of paper, and that paper now becomes null and void.
So you're looking at spending the 14,000 on printers?
No. The cost that we're looking at that I've found so far as I'm trying to look at this is between $250 to $350 for printers, and I would need 1 per car. So I'm looking at $2,500 to $3,500.
So 35 times how many?
10.
That's 3,500
That
total.
is
Okay.
the price. Is
Let's
about
change those
3,500
nickels and
on
dimes.
that. And the other option besides thermal is a toner printer. So
Well, which one do you want, Chief?
I don't have an answer to that yet. I'm still trying to get reviews back from other law enforcement agencies that use both of them to kind of get an idea. Because anything that we use on a thermal printer, we're going to have to photocopy it anyway.
But you
Okay.
just gave us a range, and I'm assuming you gave us a
Yes.
high range at 350. So what's the other
Yes.
10,000?
That is something that could be given back to the city or the people that we would not use.
What about those ballistic shields I've been on you about getting?
Well, I think that's just a pipe dream. We're just going to have to deal with the body armor. I have 2 ballistic shields. We'll just have to come back to the station whenever we look at that. But the cost of those shields.
So if we have an active shooter at Parker School, we got to come to the station, get the shield, and go back?
If we use the shield, yes, sir. If not, our current plan right now is we don't use the shield. We just.
It's okay. You don't have to discuss it.
So, but that's what we have. But we're chasing prices is what's happening. Is the longer we wait, the more expensive they are, and the more events that occur within our nation, the higher the demand.
Yeah.
So what's the number we're looking at for ballistic shields?
The ballistic shields are ranging anywhere from $2,700 to $5,300 depending on what the material is for weight. I tested one out. I wound up sending it back. That shield was 27 pounds, which was a little too heavy.
How much? 27?
And that one, the price on that one was about $1,800 for one shield. So we look at going with more of a plastic shield, the weight comes down, but the price goes up. So,
And how many of those are you hoping to get at some point?
at some point, my goal is to try to get them in enough of the vehicles to where when are on patrol, we have at least one per car, or we can swap them out. So I would need probably a minimum of 4. So
You've got
as we-
2, so if you bought 4, you'd have 6.
Yes, so if we swap cars out depending on what schedule the person works, and they can put the shield in their car, so they would have it.
Okay, so is this something, that seems like an item that once we get, Mr. Sloan has our RFP for grant writer done. That seems like something that might be,
Yes.
Okay.
And
Actually,
would
that
be
is something,
that
you're
we
right.
would
A
be
grant
looking
writer
at
could
with
get
the
those.
grant.
okay,
And we need 10.
so,
And like I said, that is something that, we can try to implement in a.
That is available, that money, I know it is.
Yeah.
And that's what my goal has been.
okay, so we can, sounds like we can change that number a little bit too. I
And
mean,
that was
it's
also
only
in the
$10,000,
five-year
but at
plan.
this point, every little bit
All
is
the
going to
10s count.
So drop it to 3,500 to cover the printers.
Yes, please.
You did have 3 in the 5-year plan for next year, purchased $5,700.
That's all good, but I think what we need to let the grant writer write that grant, because that money is available for ballistic shields, body armor, all of that stuff is available.
Talking about printers, weren't you?
I'm sorry?
Were you talking about printers?
No,
Yes.
well,
talking
he had,
shields,
he
the
had
shields,
printers
okay.
and shields.
Well, the printers, they ain't gonna give you, they're not gonna give you grant for that, but they'll give you shield money. Training money, any money for training or communications. Chief, I really want you to have one in every car.
Well, just so you know, the event occurred on Beck Avenue, in Panama City, that active shooter.
Yeah.
From the murder suspect.
Yeah,
And, that was one of the cases that we had in the county.
yeah,
So we didn't have enough ballistic shields to try to overlap the shields to
Right.
create a tunnel to get
Right.
the folks that lived in the unit next door.
right,
That were hunkered down, and try to create a bullet resistant tunnel, or wall to get them to the armored personnel carrier.
right.
So that's one of the things that we're looking at, that with all the agencies in Bay County, we still didn't have enough.
As long as Parker's got theirs, it's the only thing I care about, really.
That's one of the things that kind of started looking at me at trying to look at doing that.
Right.
Right, so in summary, we're dropping improvements other than buildings down to 3,500, and I'm removing the car of 60,000.
Yes,
And we'll put a car in for next year, Chief?
we'll ask for one. If we get it, I'll do
Well-
maintenance, whatever we get. We're used to that. That's how we've always done Parker.
And I also think that if we've got 3.3 million in savings right now, based on this year's major downfall, maybe we don't worry about transferring money into the savings account this year?
For the 50 grand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can take that out. I know not everybody agrees with savings, but I've lived a long time, and sometimes you have a rainy day. And that last rainy day we had, we weren't prepared for it financially. And I'd like to, when I leave office, at least leave you guys in a place better than you were when I came here. But I agree, we'll drop the 50.
Okay.
So, based on what Tony's saying that all the other cities are doing, and where we're kind of back and forth, what do you guys think we need to do at COLA with pay raises? I think
We're
that
gonna do
plays a
pay
big
raises
portion.
and a COLA?
I mean, I don't think we can afford to do, I think we come up with a number that we're willing to do.
And we all do one color across the board. That's what I think. What do you
That's what
think,
I
Mr. Summerlin?
Even for everybody.
Depending on what the COLA is, I still have 1 or 2 employees that I'm gonna have to adjust,
It ain't, we don't have it.
and I won't have the employees.
So can we look, what percentage do you guys think is reasonable and fair? If the other cities are doing 5, can you drop that number in and tell us what that looks like?
If 5%, general government is at a deficit of 1,008,744. Utility is at a surplus of 942,000, an overall city deficit of 69,497. With 5%.
What will the shortage be, the shortfall be?
69,004.
Even with those numbers we just gave you to
Yes,
deduct
sir.
the 50 and there, so on and so forth.
I took out the 50, took out
But
the
that's
60.
without ad valorem, right?
That's
Yes.
without
Okay.
ad valorem. So that would need an ad valorem of, what did I just say? 1,008,000.
Do you remember who you spoke to at the cities, Tony, that told you those were the numbers? Just like the HR department or just people you know?
One was the assistant, city manager, and one was, the clerk.
Okay.
So to cover that deficit, it would be an ad valorem of 3.67%.
Wish we said 3.8.
And we, you know, in the grand scheme of things, we don't have to do the full amount. We still have some, if we needed to pull from utilities for a year or two, we could do that.
We could. Sometimes pulling the Band-Aid off is just the easiest way to do it.
I mean, if the other cities are doing 5, I know that we're asking you guys to keep coming back with information, but this is what I would like to propose, that we plug the 5%, look at a new insurance option. I would like to see the numbers that we were originally given by employee with the amounts that they were hoping for rate increases to see if that 5% covers. So if you could print that for us also.
I can tell you that 5% gets them much closer to where they were. Originally, most everyone was $1 to $2, mostly $1. The 5% looks like it's getting everyone in the ballpark 88 cent to $1.50.
So we may have to look at merit increases for if we decide to do that for the Public Works Department. That's my recommendation as to where we go from here.
I'm gonna wait until I see the adjusted figures.
Is the goal to still cover 100% of employee insurance?
We won't know till we get a quote.
Would that, but is that what we would like to do and get the plan
Yeah,
cost
that's what
low
I would
enough
think
that we could
we're
still do
doing.
that?
Keep it like it is and just go with what we can find cheaper if we can.
She's saying continue to pay the 100% and then
But on a
just try
plan
to
that's
get
cheaper.
If,
a less expensive option.
we will calculate with just having the
So
one
in other
lower
words,
plan,
we'll
and then I
cover
will
it
call
all
and see what
except
we
we'll
can
get a
for
premium that's less
a plan
based
across
on the
board, 'cause
policy
that's
that
really
is
a good
less.
plan.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, the city would still cover it as part of the employment,
Yes.
but it would be based on a lesser policy.
Right.
That we could, yeah, I'd like to see those numbers too. Because if we got employees, like Mr. Summerlin says, that are gonna quit if we don't pay them more money, we have to weigh up, are we gonna have insurance, or are we gonna lose 2 employees?
And they also are receiving, a percentage and a half more toward their FRS.
Right?
FRS did go up.
That's all money that we have to pay, the people have to pay.
And the police and fire are receiving 5%
Yep.
increases.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you guys good with doing that and then reconvening again? The problem that we're gonna have with getting back together is that, our next meeting wasn't scheduled until August, but we have to do this prior to that.
Yep.
Because we have to submit the numbers to the property appraisers
Yep.
web, by August 4th.
Yep. Do you think you can get the numbers together by Friday?
Yes, because we'll contact Carter right now and just tell him what we need.
And you know, if he doesn't wanna do it, maybe there's other people that we could reach out to get a different policy.
Because everything else is updated, we just need the insurance.
Right? If
numbers.
he doesn't have the time for us, then
You're not leaving till next Wednesday, right?
I'm leaving Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock, and I'll be gone for 6 days.
Even if you get by Friday, at least Monday or
I
Tuesday.
would like to request that we bump it to Monday or Tuesday, cause I will be out of town. on
Okay,
Friday.
Monday or Tuesday's fine, I'm just
If that's
trying to help
okay.
you guys get as quick as you can.
And I think April will be back as well, right?
She'll be home Saturday night.
Okay.
We're having dinner together Saturday night.
So that would
Okay.
allow us to have everybody in the room. So
Okay.
maybe we could shoot from Monday morning, if that
Sounds
works for everybody?
perfect.
Yeah, Monday.
9 o'clock in the morning.
Money good for you?
Yeah, 'cause we're gonna be in here Wednesday for half a day anyway.
Yeah, this Wednesday. Yep.
What's happening Wednesday?
Does anybody else have any other questions for today?
The only thing that we have not received yet that I'm still expecting is the sales tax rates. Those should be coming any day. Last year we got them early July.
Okay.
That's the only thing we're still missing. Oh, and I did want to point out when Tony and when we were looking at the sewer, the cost of sewer, you'll see in the budget that this current budget, the cost of sewer is higher than the cost of sewer that we are budgeting for next year. I went out and talked to Tony about it. All of the changes and the improvements that have been occurring, we are seeing a direct result that it has lowered our cost of sewer. So that is, if there's any questions, if anybody noticed that, that's why the cost of sewer is going down. What we're currently paying is much less than what we had actually predicted that we would pay because of those improvements that have been done.
Okay.
How much do you remember how much it went down from
It was
prior?
over
It's
1
like
million.
8 million to
It was over 1 million
6
gallons
million?
difference.
Yeah, of what water that we're actually having to purchase gallon wise, not,
No,
Big-
that they're treating,
right.
that they're
treated.
treating.
Rainwater not getting in the sewer.
So I thought that was really cool.
From the improvements that have been done,
That is cool, actually.
yeah.
That's the whole.
I got one
Yeah,
thing for
exactly.
everybody, not anything to do with the budget, but in speaking with Mr. Sloan and Mr. Sumlin, I can't tell you exactly the amount of people, but we have some folks who have not submitted their paperwork to us for the, so we can lay that water line down the parkway. I don't know why anybody would not want to put a water line through their property if it was free. I'm gonna try to reach out to each of those individuals myself. If not, we're gonna be asked to submit some legal documents to those folks. And, I don't wanna use the word eminent domain, cause it's not that, but the city has to have access to that land so that we could dig a hole 10 feet deep and put a pipe in the ground, so that we can have an upgraded, an improved water system that only very few people in Parker are holding out and won't do it. And I don't know if you know off the top of your head how many, Tone? I think somebody told me 19, but I'll let you know as we get closer to it, because you'll probably get some phone calls or text messages or whatever, but we have got to put that pipe in. We have got to put that pipe in. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much for this morning, ladies.